There's a kind of silence that hurts. That moment when you realize you miss someone, but you're afraid of being too much, afraid of seeming needy, afraid of pushing away exactly the person you want to bring closer. It's strange, because deep down all you wanted was to be remembered in that simple, spontaneous, almost silly way, like when someone shows up just to say they missed you. And in those moments, the world feels lighter, as if a small sun had been lit inside your chest. But when that gesture doesn't come, when you wait for it from the person you care about the most, an uneasiness begins to grow, mixing longing, insecurity, and a deep desire to matter to someone. And sometimes, all you want is to understand how to awaken that feeling without losing yourself, without becoming a prisoner of your emotions, without playing games. I understand you. Truly, take a breath. I'm right here with you. This is another Headspace Talks. Let's go together. Sometimes, what hurts the most is not the absence of the other person, but the space that absence opens inside you. There's a silent emptiness that rises when we hope to be remembered, but are not. And without noticing, we begin to interpret that silence as disinterest, when it might simply be an emotional mismatch to people living in different internal rhythms, like tides that belong to the same ocean but don't touch. Often, the desire to be close appears because that person awakens good feelings, soft memories, that warm sensation that calms the body. And when that's missing, your mind tries to compensate, seeking contact, closeness, reassurance. It isn't neediness, it's chemistry, affection, humanity. But that need can grow so much that you begin to confuse intensity with importance. And when that happens, you start believing you must always be present so you won't be forgotten. That's the invisible point where longing stops being a bridge and becomes a prison. And this is why understanding these causes is the first step to freeing yourself from the idea that you must do something to be loved. Sometimes, what's missing is not them, it's your breath. When the mind is anxious, it creates conversations that never happened. Am I bothering them? Maybe they're not calling because they don't feel anything. Did I do something wrong? These thoughts don't arrive shouting. They show up as small whispers, planting certainties you never chose to believe. And the more you try to please, the more that voice pressures you, making you feel as if you must prove your worth all the time. It turns any delay into a threat, any silence into abandonment, any distance into rejection. And suddenly, you're acting out of fear, not love. But that voice is not you. It grew from old stories, old wounds, old patterns. Maybe it's the fear of losing. Maybe it's the memory of relationships where you had to beg for affection. Maybe it's just the habit of shrinking yourself to fit. When you recognize this, the guilt loosens and you begin to breathe on your own again, like someone who finally opens a window after too long in the dark. It's important to forgive this impulse. You have to get too close. It doesn't mean weakness. It means affection. It means you care. But no one taught you how to balance that kind of giving. No one told you that loving someone also means being able to stay with yourself, even when they're far away. Self-compassion begins when you look at your own vulnerability with tenderness. When you understand you don't need to punish yourself for wanting closeness. When you realize that feeling deeply doesn't make you wrong, it makes you human. And in that soft space of self-acceptance, you begin to learn how to give yourself the very things you expect from others. Forgive yourself for crossing lines. Forgive yourself for waiting anxiously for answers. Forgive yourself for imagining painful scenarios. Forgiveness creates space for you to return to yourself before returning to any relationship. Forgiveness restores dignity, and dignity lights you from the inside out. There's a quiet strength in small daily achievements, the ones that return the weight of your life to your own hands. A walk by yourself, a good conversation with friends, a moment of silence that doesn't hurt. Each gesture reminds you that you exist beyond the love you hope to receive. And when you move through life, something beautiful happens. Your energy shifts. You start smiling more naturally. You enjoy your own space again. You become someone who chooses herself, and this change is felt. The other person notices, even if they never say it out loud. Longing arises when there is something valuable to remember, and that includes the lightness of someone who lives well within themselves. Gratitude also softens the heart. Being grateful for the good moments you shared, even when you miss them, helps you see the relationship with more clarity and less urgency. Gratitude brings you back to the present. It reminds you that life continues even when the heart waits. One of the most common mistakes in love is thinking we must earn the right to be remembered. But longing doesn't come from effort, it comes from emotional presence. And to be a presence in someone's life, you must first believe you deserve that space. You deserve to be cherished without begging. You deserve to be chosen without twisting yourself to fit. You deserve reciprocity. When you look at yourself with kindness, your whole energy transforms. You stop acting to be accepted, and you start acting because you accept yourself. And that's when love changes tone. It becomes a love that doesn't suffocate, doesn't demand, doesn't crawl, a love that inspires. And the more you recognize your own worth, the more natural it becomes to release control and allow the other person to come when they feel it, not when you push for it. Worthiness is not arrogance. It's awareness. It's understanding you don't need to lose yourself to be loved. It's knowing that your peace can't depend on someone else's presence or absence. The present moment is the only place where you can exist whole. When you project answers, imagine scenarios, or create expectations, you abandon the now, and the now is the only space where longing becomes balance. Being present means allowing the other person to feel your absence in a light, natural way, not as punishment or a game, but as part of the flow of life. It's trusting that what is real will find its way. It's breathing without fear when your phone doesn't buzz. It's understanding that your intention doesn't need to chase to be seen. When you return to yourself, time begins working in your favor. It reorganizes emotions, adjusts distances, clarifies connections. The present gives you strength, that quiet strength that makes someone remember you precisely because you didn't lose yourself waiting. When you're whole, your absence isn't a threat, it becomes a subtle presence that remains, even when you're not around. In the end, it's not about making someone miss you, but allowing space for that feeling to grow. Longing is born from lightness, not insistence, from good memories, not pressure, from admiration, not desperation. And when you become someone who enjoys her own company, the other person notices and misses you and returns. Not because you asked, but because it feels natural to be close to someone who knows how to be whole. Be the kind of presence that warms the room, but also be the kind of absence that does not erase who you are. Let life breathe between you. Let space exist so feelings can grow. The lingering question is, how willing are you to remember yourself before expecting someone else to remember you? And of course, if you want to keep walking with me, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Here, at Headspace Talks, we learn together how to turn pain into strength and silence into healing.